2019 meeting to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Anita, if you would do the roll call, please.
We'll be happy to. Barb Wettstein.
She is excused.
Rebecca Reber.
Here.
I am here. Lizzie Paff.
Here.
Brian Wolpett.
Here.
Gary Dunlap.
He is excused.
Cheryl Hancock.
Here.
And Tom Cruise.
Here.
Okay, with 5 of the 7 school board members present, I would declare a quorum. I would note, moving on to the approval of agenda, I would note that the agenda has been posted, distributed, and sent to the local media. With this in mind, are there any changes for the agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Make a motion?
Tom, is there a second?
I'll second.
Anita? It's funny because everybody is down here now on this side tonight, so. Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda as published. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And I did not mean to negate the folks on the the right of me. It's just with the voting stuff is what I was looking for, so thank you. Public participation, I don't have any cards for anyone to speak tonight, so we will move on to recognition and thank yous. Dr. Mueller.
All right, tonight's another one of my most favorite nights because with us this evening we have some of our new staff with us, and I want to thank those of you that were able to make it this evening because we have many more new staff than are just here. So actually, and you're like, oh boy, if you could come up together and we're going to just have you, if you don't mind, introduce yourselves and where you're
and stand
teaching
in
at.
line.
Yep.
Yep.
And that, just so that you can introduce yourselves to our school board, and that.
So why don't you come in front of this table here that says School District of Holmen. And Stacy, are you going to get a picture? Yeah. So this will probably appear on the front page of the district website, just so you know, the picture.
Oh, here, we'll start on
It
this
seemed
end.
dark over there. There's a light missing.
Oh, yeah.
I'll start it. I'm Matt Myers. I'm the supervisor of student services here. Started July 1st. I've gotten to be at 1 or 2 of these before, but I just want to say thank you to the board and to the people here for allowing me to be here.
My name is Mark Lee. I'm the high school art teacher. Yes. I like long walks on the beach.
Got to follow that up. All right.
Oh, I missed it.
My name is Barry Byrne. I'm an EA at the high school, and my job was kind of a hodgepodge of supervision and working with the EBD teacher and a variety of duties. And I do breakfast duty and bus duty, and I'm really liking it so far.
I am Lindsay Stipe, and I am the new ACP coordinator and career counselor at the high school. I presented with Kim a few weeks ago on AP things. Super excited to be here, so thanks for having us tonight.
Hi, I am Elizabeth Sewer. I'm the new 10-month administrative assistant at Prairie View, and I'm excited to be here.
I'm Cassandra Bryant. I'm an EA in special education at the Prairie View Elementary School.
I'm Elaine McGarry, and I'm also a special education assistant at Prairie View Elementary.
I am Rachel Harris, and I am the new regular EA at Sand Lake Elementary.
I'm Angie Egan. I'm one of the occupational therapists in the district, and I love this district. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And on behalf of the Board of Directors, welcome to the district. We know that it's a very difficult, rigorous process to become an employee of the Holmen School District, so we congratulate you for making it through that. And it just tells that you exemplify the best of the applicants that were out there. And we recognize that staff are are one of our greatest, or if not the greatest resource we have for the students. And you make a difference in the lives of our students each and every day, and we thank you for that, no matter what your role is. So thank you and welcome aboard.
Questions, right? Can we ask some questions? Can we ask some questions?
I don't know if we really.
Just one question. Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Are you a Bears fan? I am too.
Oh, my goodness.
She
Important
mentioned
question.
it. She mentioned it in the meeting with
Oh,
us
my goodness.
a while ago.
Yeah, I would too.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, oh, gosh.
And so pose for the picture, squeeze in.
Yeah, because however you want to. Thank you.
Keep in mind that YouTube is watching, and there's thousands of people, I'm sure, out there watching this
Yeah.
tonight, but not really. But thank you again for coming.
Thank
and
you for missing the beginning of the Packers.
yeah, please know, yeah,
Oh, did you?
please know you're not expected to stay, so you certainly can if you are interested in seeing a board meeting, but you certainly, after your long day.
Okay.
What?
Can I say I'm sorry I'm late?
Oh.
Is that okay? Apologize that I was late. I had parent-teacher conferences and my 7 o'clock canceled, so I made it from lacrosse. So I'm sorry to have run in, but.
Thank you. We're very pleased to see you. Okay, so next item, Dr. Mueller.
Yeah, so just recently, we had our pork feed that we have each year, and it was our 18th annual pork feed. And tonight, we'll just keep this moving along. Julie is going to share a little bit about the pork feed, and then we have some presentations of some dollars that we are donating back to some good causes.
Yeah, I'll keep it pretty short and sweet. Most of this is fluff and pictures of our events, so, but it's fun to see who comes out for it and how it's put on. So, like Chris said, this is the 18th annual Pork Feed for Education. We'd like to thank our sponsors. There's several sponsor slides throughout the PowerPoint, but we'll begin with our local bank sponsors. So each year we solicit local banks and see who wants to participate and sponsor our event. So these are the banks that sponsored us this year. Next, just pictures of their sponsorship, so they can then put their banners on. Normally, you don't see advertising at the Viking or at the stadium, so this is one of the days that they can come out and put on their banners and set up tables. So we also had tables provided by the American Legion, and then Festival Foods donated all the cookies for the event. Here's some fun leadership team members working the event. So this is put on every year by the leadership team and other volunteers throughout the district that come out to help support this. It's always on the homecoming home football game evening. It was a little chilly. I think some of that might be the result of our lower profit compared to last year. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit, but just more pictures of the leadership team members, and lots of people come out, volunteer, and help for us to make this happen each year. So this year, we played the Logan Rangers. Something that's very special about the event is that we always offer to serve the opposing team. So after the game, both teams can go inside and have a meal together. So that's pretty fun for both of them, and hungry boys are served at the end of the evening. So. Additional sponsors we'd like to thank: Bacalar Sausage, Prairie Farm Dairy, Festival Foods, Panagold Baking, and Reinhardt Foods. Ryan, I did not write this. I think Wendy did, but apparently you were really fond of the Porkzilla and wanted it to come back this year. So in addition to our pork sandwich meal or hot dog, you could also get a combination of a pork on a hot dog meal.
Called the Porkzilla.
Called the Porkzilla. So that was pretty popular. Additional pictures of volunteers for the event. And then this is just a sample of all the different banks and others that came out. So Foundation was represented with a table, as well as WNB Financial supporting. They also had cheer towels for the game that evening. And then in the top corner, that's our T-shirt of the year, the tie-dye. And so Stacy and Wendy were selling additional Better Together tie-dye shirts, trying to spread happiness throughout our community and our school. So our donations, our profits this year for the event were $4,700, slightly lower than last year. We did serve approximately 110 less meals over prior year. We also saw some decrease in donation from vendor sponsorship a little bit, so that's kind of eating into the profit there. But we did make $4,700 this year. And that is the 18-year total. So this event has raised almost $90,000 in the last 18 years for education. So most of those profits go to the foundation, but first I'd like to present checks to the Holmen High School Athletics and Holmen FFA if anyone is here to accept. And they're good, I promise.
Looks like Mr. Englerth is going to accept these checks for
So
both of those programs.
250 to Holmen Athletics and 200 to, you want to take FFAs also?
Yeah.
I'll hold it. All right.
All right. And the 4,700 is a great total, so thank you.
Yeah, if you remember that evening, it was our first really cold day,
night.
cold night, yeah.
And then the foundation, I'd like to present a check to the foundation if somebody's here. to
Yeah,
accept
we
that.
have Lisa Kind and Jennifer Westerly with us this evening, representing the Holmen Area Foundation, so welcome.
So $4,253 will be donated to the Holmen Foundation. And they return much of that in the form of grants and gifts to our classrooms.
Right. So thank you.
Yeah. Take it so we have it for our meeting Thursday morning.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Well, and thank you so very much. I think that's a great number for a one-night pork feed, chicken Q. They don't usually raise those kind of dollars, so thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, and then,
Yeah, I just have a couple more recognitions here. We had a couple of nice-sized donations that I'd like to recognize and thank a few people. Ultra and the Wedding Tree donated $5,000 together to our DECA, so we want to thank them for that. And then we had Matt Erickson, Becca Erickson, and Jen Dobbs hosted a blind volleyball tournament. They raised $1,810 during this event, and they donated those funds to our Project Live program. So great community efforts once again. And we have a couple of recognitions coming up. We want to thank our Nutrition Services Department for their great leadership in the district and feeding all of our students such great nutritious meals like they do. So we'll be celebrating them actually this week in that. So, and they do a lot of fun events in the schools during that week. And then we have our bus safety week the following week. And with that, we've been talking a lot about, running the stop sign and things we can do for that. So I just hope people take time to thank their bus drivers and thank our transportation department. They do a lot of great work over there and keeping our students safe and pay attention to our buses and our students that are out. So thank you.
well, thank you, and that recognition is well-deserved. I'd like to tell the story about a couple of years ago, over for the lunch recognition week, I went over to Evergreen and served lunch. And, I'm thinking it's just gonna be scooping stuff or doing hot dogs or something, and oh my gosh, I'm standing over this steam kind of area, just sweating, and whatever I was serving, I had to remember what was A, B, or C, or 1, 2, or 3, I can't remember, but it was like, okay, and it was a lot of work, a lot of work, and you watch those folks, those staff do that every day with a smile on their face, and I'm thinking, how can I make it through? And I only did one lunch. I can't imagine they have 3 in a day that they do. So a lot of acknowledgement, I think, for the people who do the work they do. And of course, our bus people get our students to school and home every day, and we really appreciate that as well. So much well-deserved recognition. So then moving on to reports and discussion, we had the Boys and Girls Club, Holmen Area Club report and update. And I see Jake is here.
Joining us, so you just pull one of those chairs over, actually.
Jake Erickson is with the Boys and Girls Club, the executive director for the Boys and Girls Club, which will be overseeing this project.
Here.
Oh, sorry, Jim.
Anyone else want to join us? We have an extra chair. No. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you already introduced who we have with us tonight. We're very excited about that. So I'm just going to start with reminding you, back in August we presented the needs of the Academy on the Prairie program and shared the news of the Boys and Girls Club coming to Holmen. This was a great day that many people joined us and came together. The vacant festival food store on Holmen Drive was gifted by Dave and Barb Skolgan to the Boys and Girls Club to bring programming to the Holmen community. And many of the efforts of our community center folks that had been raising funds for a long time, they were kind of the catalyst for this event to happen. So we want to thank all those great partners and people for this opportunity. With that, just as background information, then we came to the board and then it was consented on September 9th at a board meeting that we would be allowed to explore the relocation of the Academy on the Prairie programs to the BGC Holmen Area Club and also explore the development of a memorandum of understanding with the BGC Holmen Area Club. So tonight, what I am here to do and share with you is what our updates are and what we have done since that last board meeting. So before we start that, I just want to go back to the why behind that, like why the Boys and Girls Club? And why would that be such a great partnership? And in reminding you, it's just talking about how our philosophy as a district aligns so closely with that of the Boys and Girls Club and with our Academy on the Prairie programs. So with that, I'm going to let Jake just give him a couple minutes just to talk a little bit about the Boys and Girls Club and what they're about, just to give you a little more background on that. So, is that my...
Yep.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mueller, and thank you for allowing me to be here tonight and speak on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club. I have some notes that I may fall or cut me short because when I start talking about Boys and Girls Club and start talking about our organization, there's a lot of passion there. And our organization's been around for 53 years and impacted thousands of kids in this community. And we just have a really strong team at the club that we're excited for this opportunity to bring a club to Holmen. As you know, working with young people, that young people are at least 3 times more likely to get into trouble, to commit a youth crime, to experiment with drugs and alcohol when they don't have a safe place to go after school. So that's really the mission of the Boys and Girls Club, is to be in every community possible and provide opportunities for kids after school. And really our number one goal for our staff at the club is to develop supportive relationships with kids, to give kids an opportunity to come and connect not only with their peers, but connect with a positive role model, somebody that can help guide them during their sometimes difficult adolescent years. And we do that through a variety of ways at the club. I think traditionally people in our community think of the Boys and Girls Club as a sports place where kids can play competitive sports or recreation sports, and certainly we do have that. But there's so much more that happens at the club, and it's a very intentional after-school program with giving kids opportunities in things like the fine arts, where there's guitar lessons and voice lessons. You'll see an updated diagram or a floor plan of the club. We will have rooms like a music room, a recording studio for kids, an art room where kids can be exposed to arts and crafts, learning centers, computer labs, and just giving kids opportunities in things like character and leadership. opportunity to get their first job, come to the Boys and Girls Club, and we'll connect you with a group of people that will help you with some job readiness or career readiness. So again, I could kind of go on and on and on, and I'll certainly answer any questions you might have about what the Boys and Girls Club does. But I will say too that the most successful Boys and Girls Clubs in our country, where there's over 4,000 clubs, the most successful clubs clearly have a great partnership with their school district. So that's another reason why I'm excited to be here tonight, is because of the success of this project will be true community support, but especially the Boys and Girls Club and the School District of Holmen having a strong partnership. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, Jake. Much appreciated. So just as a reminder, another reason why was the location. We talked about that in great detail earlier, but you can see the little maroon square there is the vacant Festival Foods building, and it's centrally located between our high school and our middle school, and in closer proximity to many of our elementaries in the area. So a great location, great way to have collaborations and services nearby. So updating you on our first recommendation. So you allowed us to explore to see, okay, would it be possible? So what we found out after having conversations with Jake in the Boys and Girls Club was they do have room for us to have dedicated space available within their facility. And we'll get into the details of that here coming up. And not only that, but the square footage that they're able to allow us to have the dedicated space in does meet all of our Academy on the Prairie program needs. You learned that we have 3 different programs over there, and it would meet the needs of all 3 of those programs in that space. What does the dedicated space means? It means that we would have a space that would be, one of the things with our teaching staff was, okay, we set up something, we have our stuff in our classroom, is someone gonna come in the evening and what do we do with that? Well, with the dedicated space, that would allow us to have the space and control, I guess you could say control or decide's a better word, if we could have a group that wanted to use the space, we would be able to say, oh, yes, you can, and this is when and how, versus just only having it for a certain period of time during a day. And then also, just with the building and the partnerships that are evolving in it, it would really enhance our curriculum and partnership opportunities for these programs that would be housed there, and also for programs after school for our students and all students in the Holmen area that are around within that facility. So with that, now we'll do our best with this picture here. And this, I don't have the most updated, it's close though. They are rapidly working on the design and so on, and I can maybe pull up another clear picture if you need it, but basically it's just about the shading right now. That yellow shaded corner would be school district dedicated space. With the hallways and corridors, it's about 4,000 square feet. Without the hallways, the instructional space is around 3,000. That is the same instructional space capacity that we are using in the Academy on the Prairie. The Academy on the Prairie building is about 18,000 square feet, but we use approximately, with the gym and so on, we would actually have much more availability to space in a facility of this. Because as you can see, the orange area is the Boys and Girls Club area. And you can see, they're hoping for 2 gymnasiums, and that depends on our fundraising efforts. And then in the bottom left corner, the blue area, that would be the, as they're calling it, the Holmen Area Community Center, or the hub for community opportunities in that, for more of our adults and mentors in the area. And then the green area, that's kind of just the commons area that would be secured or entrance into the building in that. So do you want to talk in a little more detail about the school district space, Jill, please? Yep.
Well, first of all, we have to thank Jake and DBS for working with us. We go into this is pretty awesome that we're able to help design the space. Yeah, this might actually be good. We're still we're still looking at all these spaces, and it's so exciting to be able to do this. So we really wanted to make sure with our Project Bridge, they have the teaching apartment. And we wanted to have a restroom that had a shower and that was handicap accessible, especially not only for our students, but for potentially the people attending the community center in case they needed a handicap accessible place as well. So we would like to partner on that, but just wanted to build that there. And then really, because a lot of the program and in our alternative school is daily living skills, making sure we had a kitchen that we could make healthy meals and do some teaching in there as well. And then washer and dryer, and those are all pieces that the school district will work on. And then the classroom / art, that is where, right now they have the Merge company. So some of you know the card company that Lynn Wilson comes here, cards are all over in the district. They make cards in this section, and so they work with Carrie Grukowski's program, and so they go into this area and they make the cards. We added a sensory room in that area for both students with disabilities and students in the academy program, so they'd have access to a mindfulness area, and they can come in without disrupting any of the classroom space. And then the other 2 classrooms really are for your learning opportunities, face-to-face classes. We added a little component for online learning. That's where it'd be a quiet, different flexible seating, but a quiet area where they can work on their own online learning options so they weren't disturbed during the face-to-face classes. We needed some space for that, so. All right, any questions about that?
Any questions?
With the storage, is that storage for the Academy on the Prairie programs or storage for the district?
Right now it's storage. We have a lot of bikes. So we use like 3-wheel bikes, adaptive bikes for our students. And then we were also gifted some different bikes for our students on the prairie. And so we're looking at potential storage for those types of things.
So it would be school district storage?
Correct. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
because I
yes.
just saw the one said music storage, and that's why I wasn't sure. Do they have music opportunities over there too?
So that's all part of the BGC
gotcha.
plan. Yep.
Okay.
But what is nice, and that's why this partnership is awesome, is there's potential for after school, our students that are either attending during the day there, they could access those things in the evening as well.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there are, so there's potential community center space, school district space, and then Boys and Girls Club space, and then there's that, within that, there's shared spaces that both the community center and the school district could use some of that, because there's a music room, like a recording kind of a room is what they're looking at. I know there's an arts and crafts room and those sort of things that they've said.
I would also, like Jake just mentioned earlier about the career readiness, that's another piece that both of our Prairie programs work on pretty heavily. And so for them to have an opportunity after school to partner with the BGC and some other staff that can help them in that arena would also be great. So a lot of these partnerships are really coming to fruition. The same with the Holmen Area Community Center. If we have any seniors or adults that would like to partner with our card making company, things like that. So there's just a lot of different opportunities that we see for the future here.
So the tan part is the, what is the tan part again?
The Boys and Girls Club.
Okay. And then that's part of the gymnasiums too, they're just different colors for the heck of it?
The gymnasiums are, they're colored differently because that gymnasium on the bottom, I guess you'd consider that pink there. That one for sure will be constructed. The upper one, the purple one, is contingent on fundraising.
Okay.
So that could end up being a phase 2 gymnasium.
Okay.
But what's cool about the gym that it's hard to see is there's a walking path around
that.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and not to repeat what was said, but there is a lot of space within the Boys and Girls Club space, that orange space that the school district will have access to. Things like the dance studio wasn't mentioned. There's a teen center that will have a game room type of area, gaming and game room. There's just a ton of opportunities for for shared space too within the facility.
Okay.
So, and that is why the partnership and the collaboration is so important, because the Boys and Girls Club activities primarily will be after school, and so to utilize a facility like this during the day so that it's not just vacant, I think is important. And then, and vice versa, there may be needs in the community center space, for example, that they may need in the evening, and so I think they're going into that with that kind of idea.
I know in the district, safety is always paramount. Is there any discussion on that as far as?
Yeah. Jake was very cognizant, and I'm excited on the two-stage entry to the front entrance of the building. Just like in all our schools, the door, there is the district would have its own entrance on the side here with a ramp, which is ADA accessible. So before school, it could be an easy drop off in after school pickup, but as soon as the school hours are over, they would be locked. In what we talked about is even during the day, everyone who didn't have a badge or wasn't able to get in that, or a key to get in that side door, they would have to come through the front entrance. And those are logistics we'd have to talk about as to, okay, if they're coming in, who's gonna be there, or how do we work that? And those are logistics that we'd have to work out in the planning stages.
I mean, safety is our number one focus right now at all of our clubs. We're 3 years in on a new facility on the north side of La Crosse, and we're already redoing our entrance. We're moving some doors, and we're creating a buzz-in system similar to what you have in your schools. So that's the reason why that space in the green is a fairly large space. That'll be a space for visitors to congregate, and will not have access to any of the other parts of the facility without either someone coming and greeting them or without being buzzed in. So this will be a very secure building with just one point of entrance in that green space.
Any other questions on the first part, exploring the space or the design? No? Okay. All right, on to the next part. We talked about exploring the development of a memorandum of understanding with the BGC Holmen Area Club. So there's many services that we will be able to provide and have that would be in kind in that to offset some of the ongoing operational expenses in this facility. And then we have some will be with a cost neutral effect, while we would like to explore other services and programming that could be provided to all youth in Holmen during after school hours. So for example, when you talk about transportation, right now after the school day is over, if there are resident students, we drop them off at, they might decide they're going to their daycare location after school. So what we would do is we'd be able to provide another stop here at the BGC Club and help with those types of services. And there's other ones that we've had some discussion around for in-kind. But when we talk about after-school programming and having programming for all students, we're not only talking about our Holmen school district kids, we're talking about homeschooled students, we're talking about students who might attend private and public, we're talking about open enrolled students, providing opportunities for all students within the BGC facility and after school hours. So in doing this, so in developing a memorandum of understanding, it's like you're talking about what are all those services that you can provide as a district in helping out. What we've discovered is we are allowed through our Fund 80. Now we've used, it's a community fund. This is a fund that we did levy, we created and established and used that when we had the child care facility shut down around Thanksgiving time. And then we got up and running our own daycare facility. We were able to use our Fund 80 dollars for that. But what we have learned is we are allowed through Fund 80 to also use and levy dollars through that for programming such as programming that would happen after school hours and at a facility, a community facility like the BGC Holmen Area Club. What we would like to do before entering into a in approving a memorandum of understanding is enter into a contract with a neutral party that could talk with these different groups of people and come up with what kind of programming is really needed in the community to benefit our resident students in the area, so that we can enter into a memorandum of understanding, developing those types of programs that would best benefit those students. So what we would like to do is, so our fund's established, we'd like to, and I'll show you a timeline here of what we're thinking of, is so for October here, we'd like to develop a contract to bring someone on board, a neutral party, to help with developing of this programming, or what would be a good type of programming, so that in entering into that contract, we could levy for minimal dollars to enter into this contract with this individual, and it would not be for more than $10,000. It'd be very minimal, to help us in figuring out what would be the best route to go. And we would then in November start that contract and get all that information. Within December, we would start developing there's two parts to this. One is starting to develop what would a lease agreement look like for the dedicated space, which is one part, but then also develop a memorandum of understanding after we have all the information that we would need. With the goal being January 1st, or January, entering into coming to an agreement with our BGC partner of what that lease agreement would be and what the memorandum of understanding would look like moving forward. If all the fundraising goes as planned, the BGC is planning to open its doors in September, start of the school year. And I'll let Jake fill in anything that I'm missing here. Excuse me. And what we could do is, after we have more information about possible programming and those types of things, thank you, we could, as a board, you can decide if you would like to levy for any of those dollars for programming within the BGC to benefit the community and students. So lots to digest, lots to think about, but to get started and get on the planning, having that neutral party would be kind of very crucial, because what they could do is they could talk with the community center folks, they can talk with the BGC, they can talk with the school district, talk with the different parties that would be involved, and come up with the best plan. And then we could develop what would that look like and what kind of budget would that be if we did do that, and have some time to think about that.
So really, it would be a consultant that would come in, and because our staff is kind of
biased,
well, to the max too, they're pretty
Right.
busy. It would be an opportunity for them to take a look and say, okay, if we placed our academy here, these are the things we could do with the Boys and Girls Club. These are the things, this is the space that, could be utilized. These are some programming things that we could do after school, and possibly have staff there, place staff there, or possibly hire staff to be there to serve our students. And then also looking at the community center folks. What can we be, the daytime things, what can they be doing with the community center? I know we found in doing research that monies couldn't be put out there and not used until the center's open. So as we were discussing this, and it's like 100 different ideas going this way, this way, this way, it's like, wouldn't it be nice to have one person focused on this, one entity kind of focused on what are some of the programming things that we can do? And so we can levy money for that and use that this school year. And then from that, establish a budget, and then those budgetary dollars could be levied in the future to deliver that programming. And so that's kind of part of it too, is that if we levy dollars for it, we have to spend it within that school year. So Barb.
just for clarification, and maybe it's a very basic question, but just to help me fully understand the process of levying. Is it just a matter of creating a category for the BGC, or how does that work?
So within our school, when we levy, that determines our mill rate, our tax rate. And many times, there's many different funds that you can access as a school district. And many districts in the state levy what are called Fund 80 dollars, community dollars, and they use them for many different, I know some use them for police liaisons. Some use them for communication staffing. So many districts levy. Now, they've gotten very strict on how you levy, what you can levy for. They made it very clear that when you levy for Fund 80, it needs to be something, in this situation, that's for all resident students, if they're going to your district or not, in that.
And we found that we can't donate money. We can't just take tax dollars
No,
to
definitely.
donate. So having programming that we're supporting is a way of supporting the programming at the Boys and Girls Club.
And then that doesn't involve referendum necessarily?
Correct.
It just is
So,
a matter of working with the tax
I guess another
rate?
thing to look at it, we have a revenue limit, and we're only allowed that much. There's a few different ways you can go beyond the revenue limit. One is referendum. Another is you can Fund 80 through these dollars, and or grants, donate,
Right.
from that. Julie, and you can add anything else you would like to that, if there's anything else.
That helps a
you-
lot, though. Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay, alrighty.
Fund 80 is more complicated, isn't it?
It is a little, we just haven't used it, I think is the issue, is we haven't used it before much.
We haven't used it. You don't want to use it if, in my opinion, if it's going to raise taxes, you don't want to use Fund 80. I mean, you as a board have a very, you pride yourselves and I think have done great work along keeping a very constant tax rate for, school tax rate for our community. And I think we're still able, we're analyzing that and still able to do that by support, and still do that while supporting something that can be very beneficial for our students in the area.
I know at one of the meetings, it appeared the board was like all in, yeah, let's do this, let's do what we can. And then, because we had talked about, well, let's, levy some money and just have X number of dollars every year. But it has to be spent within that school year, so that's the part. And so what can we do? That preparation and field work that we would be doing to identify the programming. And it could be supporting current Boys and Girls Club programming that's going to be in the building. It may not be initiatives that we're taking, but as we look at what is in the best interest of all, youth in our community, in our school district, that's one thing that we could do, is support that programming. And so we could do that through Fund 80. We just don't know what those programs are.
Yeah, and it will, what you see and what Jake has experienced, I think, is the programming at the BGC Club for the youth does have a positive long-term impact and for the community in that.
Yeah, much of it is evidence-based, very positive programming that they do, so, as he mentioned too, so.
Yeah, we have it at, I teach in Hamilton, Jake, and wow, yeah, you guys do awesome things for our students and families, so.
Thank you. Yeah, and
I see that regularly.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That's great to hear that, because I heard a few negative things today, so it's good to hear something positive.
Well, positives and negatives go together. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, so thank you. There are examples too of many school districts in our state that are beginning to support Boys and Girls Clubs and after school programs with utilizing Fund 80 dollars too. So I would hope that we can report back very soon of what does that look like exactly and how have those partnerships been formed. So I do know, in talking with executive directors throughout the state, it's becoming a lot more popular for school districts, as that is one of their ways of supporting the kids in the after school programming.
Tom?
Yeah, just two quick questions. One for Chris. I know the logistics with the Academy on the Prairie is always a challenge, and I can totally understand that. I know when I've talked with some of the teachers and the storage space things, You think this space is big enough for the children, for the students on the prairie?
Yeah, yes. In looking at the square footage that they're accessing right now for their classroom space, this is comparable to that.
Okay.
But then they'll actually have more space available to them throughout the whole day than they currently do.
And have they seen
more
it? The academies, so they have seen it too.
Yeah, they've actually given, they've been given input to this.
And I think it's a unique opportunity, and I think that, and I was going to ask Jacob, because he mentioned about the success with other districts, with the Boys and Girls Clubs, and that would be, but you kind of touched on it, but that would be interesting, I think, to get a little more data on just how it was so successful. We take your word for it, but, you know, the devil's in the details. So.
We're just unique in that it's not up and operating right now, otherwise we could put those dollars there, but until it's up and operating, we've got to have, the programming has to follow, so. Any other questions? So I assume then that it seems that there is support, that will be part of the levy that will come to the board at the annual meeting and the budgetary. And it still is in line with keeping everything, as we've talked about, keeping our tax rate stable and steady and not having any increases and decreases kind of thing, so good.
Yeah.
That's a plan.
So,
Good.
yeah, so really,
Julie's the
so
main
we're acting if, what we would like to do, and we would definitely bring it to the board for final approval, is start development of the mutually agreed upon lease agreement for that space is one thing we'd like to start having more conversation around. And then coming to you and at the annual meeting would be levying for a small amount in that Fund 80, which
To do
Julie
the
would,
initial work.
would speak to for the initial part. And that, which then would lead to us starting to develop an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which would also come to the board for approval before it would be finalized. So just keeping you up to date on every step we're taking along the way with, it's a very unique project in that first school district, so it's important that we keep informing you of these steps that we're taking.
You should keep some of the refrigeration equipment in place. That might help with some of the students too. I don't know. Sorry.
Well, I just
right.
want to thank you, Dr. Mueller, because I think when we get closer to December and January, things are going to come quickly, and so I think it's important for us to have a good understanding. And Jake, I hope you can take away from other people's comments the support that we have for the project, because the board is really behind it and wants to find ways to collaborate and partner. So thank you
I
so very
appreciate
much.
that. Thank you.
Bet.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, then moving on to field experience contracts. Is that you, Jill?
It is.
You can
I
operate.
didn't realize there was a chair.
That's okay.
Okay.
Is it not?
Where
did I make
is
it too
it?
big?
No, I just need to find the arrow. Well, there it is.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So we have had the unique opportunity to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Lamar University, and they are in Texas.
How did that happen? Is it a local person or
It
something?
is, and so it's very exciting. We have an alum who is going through her speech and language program at Lamar and wanted to come back and do her externship here in the district. And like most of you know, we cannot find speech and language pathologists in the state of Wisconsin, so I gladly said, yes, sure. Come on in. And we have wonderful speech and language pathologists that this individual is working with right now. So we are really excited to enter into this agreement with Lamar. They've been great to work with thus far. And so just bringing this to you, I'll pop up the field very thorough. Okay. So this is just the field experience memorandum of understanding, and I don't know if you need to go into detail on this, but I'm very excited about it. When I first heard about this, I thought, wow, Texas, and then I heard it was an alum, so it was pretty
yay.
exciting. So
All right, and so you're introducing this tonight. It won't be on, it's not on tonight's agenda, but unless anyone has any concern, I think it'll be on the agenda in 2 weeks, the mega agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, student learning focus areas. Oh, Kim.
Good evening. Let's see if I can find it up here now. All right, I get to share with you the results of our student assessment system. So these are some of our big state assessments that we took last spring. So they are part of, oh my goodness. So they are part of the student learning focus area on our district dashboard. So specifically, the English language arts area relates to our Wisconsin Forward results. Those are grades 3 through 8. Our math results come directly again from Wisconsin Forward. That's the math section of that assessment. And then we have the ACT, which has a variety of subtests within it. But the part that comes out on our student or on the district dashboard is our composite score. And I'll drill into those a little bit more. But we have a new one added to the WSAS system just this year, and that is the ACT Aspire. It's part of that ACT suite. And it's new but not new. We've taken it for many, many years, but this last year is the first year it has counted for us in terms of what it looks like at the state level. However, it is not included on our district dashboard. So the purpose of all these really is just to help us to get a clear picture of how well we are doing in preparing our students to be college and career ready. So, and we really use these results to help with our school improvement processes. I use it for what do we need for district staff development. And it also shows us areas that we can really celebrate where we're doing a nice job. The WSAS results are reported out by proficiency levels. So the graphs I'll be showing you are specifically in percent of students that are reaching levels of proficient and advanced in each of those. New to this, like I said before, is that Aspire now is added into this as well. So here's the breakdown of all the assessments that kind of make up this suite. The first one is the Wisconsin Forward exam. Those were 2 measures on the district dashboard. Grades 3 through 8 take the English language arts section and mathematics. And then in 4th, 8th, and 10th grade, we have social studies tests with that as well. And then grades 4 and 8 also take a science assessment. Then we also have the dynamic learning maps, or the DLM. This is an alternative assessment that's administered to generally less than 1% of our student population is determined by need. And then we have the ACT suite, which is at the high school. As I mentioned, there's the ACT Aspire, that's in 9th and 10th. And then we have the ACT with writing in grades 11, which just a handful of years ago became a required state assessment for Wisconsin. And then last year was our last year of taking the ACT work keys in grade 11. That one has been discontinued, so we can let that one go as we move forward. So, digging into the data. So this first graph shows us our performance, again, grades 3 through 8 on ELA on the Wisconsin Forward. And so all of the charts are broken up essentially the same way, whereas on the top we have a graph that shows our trend over time. And then down below you can see a breakdown of the specific scores over the years if you want to get specific that way. The red diamond at the top on this one is the School District of Holmen performance. The blue is the average of our peer districts. So we've talked a lot about peer districts in terms of our district dashboard. And then we also have down here the green triangle, which is the state performance. So you'll see on ELA on the Wisconsin Forward that our students had 53.2% who scored proficient in advanced, which was above the state average significantly, as well as the average of our peer districts. The next one is math. Again, you'll see that Holmen students scored 51.3% proficient in advance, a little bit above the average of our peers, and then again significantly above the state average on that as well. When we look at science, you'll see we have 64.2% of our students scoring proficient at advanced, again above the average of our peers, and then above the state as well. And then social studies, again, you'll see we are just a little bit above the average of our peer districts, scoring 56% of our students proficient at advanced, just a little bit above the average of our peers, and then above the state as well. Any questions on the Wisconsin Forward section?
Is it possible to look at like the 8th graders and the 10th graders and to go back and see where they were as 4th graders and where they were as 8th graders?
We could do that. However, it's not reported out this way. So every year we're going to see little bits of fluctuation based on just that these are different groups of kids from year to year that we're looking at. But that is something that we look at as a district, certainly.
So you do look at it, okay, because I know that we have almost every week have students either come or leave the district. And so we know that there's a lot of that happening.
There is. This, I should mention that these test results only include students who've been with us for a full academic year.
Okay, but
So- but
still,
that's
from one
still-
year to
yep,
another, but
it
there's
can
probably
change.
within each class that core students who have been with us in 4th grade and
Certainly.
tested in 4th grade and also tested in 8th grade. And it just would be, I'm glad you're looking at that. I always was curious if we can do that and check with their
Yes.
counterparts, so, okay, thank you.
So the next section is ACT. So as I mentioned before, this is administered to all of our 11th grade students with the exception of those kids who do take the DLM. There are 5 subtests that are on the ACT. English, reading, writing, those all go together as an ELA composite score. Then we also have the math and then the science as well. So this is broken out exactly the same way that we did the Wisconsin Forward results. You'll see that we had, after a little bit of a dip last year, we had a really nice rebound this year with 50.4% of our students proficient and advanced on the ELA section, which was a good 10 percentage points above the average of our peer districts and then significantly above the state as well. In math, we had the opposite happen. We had a bit of a dip here. This is the only one we found where we did fall below the average of our peer districts. We're still above the state, but this is something that we're going to want to keep an eye on, to just dig in a little deeper and see what's going on with this cohort of students specifically.
Is there any, because how long have we been in the new math curriculum? Is there any correlation to that?
Well, this would be
Okay.
I will show you some conflicting data. So in science, you'll see that, again, we outscore our peers with 36.7% proficient advanced, just a little bit above the average of our peers, and then the state there as well. And then this is the ACT composite score. This is where they take all of those subtests and come up with a score that is reported out. You'll see this graph is a little more dramatic than the actual scores, just given the scale. So we did dip down a little bit, but it was only 0.5 of a point. So we are still above the average of our peers and the state as well. But
because the other graphs were 10 points. in
yes,
between
this
the
one
ones.
is really blown up so that you can see exactly where we're at. But even to move a half a point on the ACT composite is a pretty big deal. So so it is blown up so we can see it. Hopefully trending up the other way rather, but so that you can see that movement because it is pretty slight.
But all 3 years that you have up there, or 4 years, reflected all students taking the test?
It is now.
Yeah.
So then here's where we get into Aspire, which is where I think you'll find the math data pretty interesting. But this reflects all our 9th and 10th grade students with the exception of those that do take the DLM, and this is broken out the same way with the 5 subject areas. However, it's very interesting in that I will be reporting out on the ELA score. That's the combination of the English, the reading, and the writing, and the math. The science is reported out as a readiness score, which is more of a predictor of how they think students will perform on the ACT. So there isn't really a cut score in terms of how many are proficient and advanced, but rather a span of where we would expect kids to perform. But when we look at ELA for the ACT Aspire, you'll see we dipped down a little bit this last year, but we're still just a little above the average of our peer districts and the state, which is the opposite of what we saw on the ACT.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we look at math, so it's something to keep an eye on. However, we're talking different groups of students here, so, you know, there's a lot that goes into deciphering what would happen with that. However, I mean, this is pretty impressive, the 53.8% who perform proficient and advanced, the combination of our 9th and 10th grades. So, so I'm trying not to read too much into that 1 year of ACT. So, but it is definitely something to keep an eye on.
What is the first class that's moving through with the new math curriculum?
Do you mean expressions that we had down in the elementary, or are you thinking more of the integrated maths that we have at the high school?
The math expressions.
Oh, that's been quite a while.
Trying to think.
10 years?
We got it back in Prairie View when it first opened. We didn't have Trailblazers.
Okay.
So 10 years, so the 10th graders would be the first. So this could be reflective of that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think the numbers are going down?
I'm not exactly sure. I would chalk some of it up to just being different cohorts of kids with different needs. One of the things that we're working really hard on is our professional learning community, so that we get better at being more flexible with what kids need. And so that's something that we're still refining, but we still have pretty diverse needs as you go through. And so working to be able to have systems that adjust to those needs so that we're prepared for the kids that come to us, rather than marching through a curriculum. And so there are going to be variations from year to year. I'll be interested to see longer over time how this looks.
This is not a fair question for you, maybe, but I mean, is there? I know Barb has told me before when she's taught me you have some fluid classrooms where students are coming in, they're going out. Would that affect this at all? With that having turnover in kids? I don't know how best to put that.
You mean with students who move in and out?
Yeah.
Actually, we don't have a really high population of that. I mean, we have some movement, which could impact it a bit. I don't know if it's enough to,
I just wondered.
yeah, yeah. We do have lots to celebrate overall. Our performance levels are still very high. Obviously, they're something that we want to continue to work on to achieve even better for our students. But our biggest area of need really is to close our gaps with some of our underserved populations. And I know we talked about that last year too. But our work with PLC and a lot of our district staff development really revolves around how to be more responsive to different needs coming into our classrooms. Any questions? Or other questions, rather?
Any questions? All right. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And then we have the ESEA report.
So I'm right back here. Unfortunately, I had really hoped to have one of our Title I staff co-present with me. Unfortunately, she's not feeling well and her kiddos are sick, so she is staying at home, and we will do the best we can to troop on without her. But, so this is our ESSA report, Every Student Succeeds Act, which is essentially our Title I end-of-year report for our reading and math programs. So, Title I is a federally funded program that provides some additional funds for those buildings that we have that qualify, that have higher percentages of students with lower socioeconomic status. So the vision of this program really is to provide an extra layer of support for our students who need it in the area specifically of reading and math. So up here you'll see a lot of what we focus our work around to ensure that that happens. So we really base everything that we do on research-based interventions. We really work hard to come alongside parents and be a partner with them in educating students and with working with classroom teachers as well. We use a lot of ongoing formative and more formal assessments to measure achievement, and then have very skill-specific guided instruction to close those achievement gaps. And then we really work on providing that safe, nurturing environment for students where they're free to take some risks and not be afraid of making a mistake, so that we can address some of those needs. And then, as always, relying on those current best practices. And then we worked hard to make sure that we are on the front edge of all those best practices. So that's what a lot of our professional development opportunities revolve around. So Title I is just one of those programs that is part of the ESSA policy. So the main purpose of ESSA is really to provide all students with significant opportunities to receive that fair, equitable, high-quality education around closing those educational achievement gaps, the same ones that I addressed in just our last presentation. So we do have 3 buildings that we serve with Title I funds. You can see them up there, Evergreen, Sand Lake, and Viking. Last year when I reported to you, I shared that we were going to be spending last year working on preparing an application to move to a school-wide program versus our targeted assistance program. And fortunately, last spring we were awarded that, which provides us with much more flexibility in terms of how we service students and staff within those buildings. So we have a lot more latitude in how we organize and provide services. We're able to work much more fluidly with the interventions and supports provided within the school. We're also able to use those funds with additional staff people that we weren't able to do so before. So again, just a much greater amount of flexibility that we're able to do now with the school-wide designation versus the targeted support. So there were 3 core elements of the school-wide program: that comprehensive needs assessment, the comprehensive school-wide program, and then regular evaluation of the plans, which just so happens to dovetail very nicely with the continuous improvement that we're working on with the School District of Holmen with our partnership with Studer and our school improvement plans, our scorecards, that kind of work. So they just kind of, it really streamlines things and provides for a really nice alignment of our systems. So here's just kind of a visual of how our levels of support work. So you can see Evergreen, Sand Lake, and Viking up there, who are our 3 Title I buildings. But this is, I think, really just shows the strong commitment we have to providing a really high level of education for all of our students, such that every building, of course, has a really strong level of universal instruction. We also have an interventionist team that works at all 4 of our elementaries and our middle school as well. And then those 3 buildings that happen to have Title I funding have another layer above and beyond that you can see there. So last year, across those 3 buildings, we had the equivalent of 4 full-time Title I staff, and they were able to serve 123 students over the course of the year. As an intervention team, we're very successful, with the vast majority of those students actually reaching the district benchmarks, and those who didn't coming very close. So also as part of the Title I program, we have a family involvement component. This was a really fun evening that we had last spring at Sand Lake. We had our Spring Into Reading and Math event. We had 25 families that attended. Our teachers were at different tables throughout the cafeteria with different games. We had a couple of volunteers that helped direct those as well. So we had a combination of reading games, math games. Everyone who attended also got a free book, which was a lot of fun too. And then this is a new piece. So as part of, I shouldn't say it's a new piece, I'm reporting it to you as a new piece. But as part of the Title I program, we are required to put a proportional share of our budget aside for those students who are residents of the School District of Holmen but attend elsewhere. And so we have a certain amount of funds set aside for those students who attend St. Paul's and St. Pat's in Onalaska. In previous years, what we did was contract with the School District of Onalaska to provide tutoring services for our students who attend an after-school program. But in order to give us a little bit of greater oversight of what those services look like, as well as have a better handle on that private portion, or the portion of our budget that's set aside for private schools, we're going to be contracting that directly with those tutors now instead, just so that we are a little bit more involved in how that looks for the students from the school district, or from Holmen, that attend those private schools.
Do you have to deliver those services at those private schools? Or could they be held like at the Boys and Girls?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I would have to look into that.
was just thinking. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Any other questions about our Title I program?
Any questions?
Okay.
Hey, thank you
Thank
so
you.
very much. I appreciate it. And any word on the game? I haven't heard anything, so 13 to nothing, the other team?
Hold it up for a second.
Oh.
Who's winning?
Well, we better get done so that we can go home and cheer them on. So there are 4 items on the consent agenda. Item 2 of them deal with recognition weeks, the school bus and the school lunch. Otherwise, it's just our personnel and financial claims and accounts. So unless there's something you'd like to have pulled out separately, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Then board member reports and discussions. I'll call on you to see if you have any comments or committee reports. Barb Wetstein.
Just a greeting to all our new staff. I apologize again that I wasn't here to greet them while they were all here, but excited about them and super excited about the partnership with Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you. Rebecca Reber.
We had Building and Grounds Committee meeting tonight, and we discussed the policies and policies that we need to update or review. We got an update on the building that's going on at the high school. They want to get the walls up, I believe, on the 2 spaces.
Yep, the outer walls around the fine arts area, the gymnasium, fitness, the walls, trying to get those up before the winter comes so they can get the interior work done. And they're on schedule right now. So by the end of the month, you'll see the majority of them up.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice to have that meeting back together again. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Anita Jagodzinski.
We have a Personnel and Governance Committee meeting on Wednesday night, and so I'll report at that at our next meeting. I wanted to welcome all the new staff, the ones who weren't here too, because there's a long list.
Yeah.
So they must all
Over
be home
80.
watching the Packers, the Lions. And also, I just wanted to say, I noticed something online yesterday about our food service department and the Farm to School program. Phenomenal blog that was written by Cambro, the company that makes the.
Cambro's.
Like the, I don't know, food
warming
service.
and,
Yeah,
yes.
warming ovens and
Yes,
things.
they're great.
It blew me awake because I always knew we had a really good, the team Mike has assembled, the workers, the kids who produce the food in FFA and different venues. But to read that blog on everything they've accomplished is just, I was just blown away by it. So maybe we could put a link to that on the district website. I don't want to micromanage that, but it would be really nice to have more people read that because being on the board and knowing all the good they did, but not all the thing, it was amazing to read that. So
We had talked about Facebook might be good too.
Great.
that's
I
where
think it's
saw
out there
it.
on Facebook.
Is it already
Yeah.
out there? Okay.
That's
yeah.
where I read it. So anyhow,
On our district one,
congratulations
but-
to that department and all those kids who work so hard and have such cool ideas. They're gonna be raising cows so that they can have a dinner at the end of the school year. I mean, where else do they do that? Cattle, pigs, cows, chickens, they raise their own produce.
Farmers do it every day, but that's.
No, I mean
I
in
know what you're
schools,
saying. I know what you're
you know.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know.
I know, Cheryl.
I bet
Anyhow.
that's what people think though. Oh, this is so unique, and it's like, no, this is where we get our food from.
Oh,
you know,
sure,
so,
but I
yeah.
mean, for us high school kids.
do
be
that,
thinking
yeah.
and doing that and all the logistics of coordinating that, so anyhow.
It's wonderful.
Congratulations, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Lizzie Paff?
Well, I'll keep it short, but the high school, and I'm sure all the rest of the schools, are really as busy as ever. All of my senior friends are trying to get in their early applications in for college and stuff like that, so that's always really exciting. We're already past midterms and everything like that, and homecoming is already finished, so that's pretty sad. But hosting a foreign exchange student this year, it's been so inspiring to see her get so excited about something as simple as it's snowing, or when the bell rings, she's like, oh my gosh, because I guess in her school they don't have bells like that. But it's just so exciting to see through her eyes the American school system and how different it is from the rest of the world and how much school spirit we have here. And I also wanted to comment on the Boys and Girls Club, how amazing that will be. I'm honestly quite jealous of the younger students because that is just so amazing. And I know that the students coming through the school district and kids in the greater area as well will just love that space. I'm really excited to see when it's all finished and to go in and look at everything because I know that that will be an amazing learning opportunity. So.
Yes, it will be. Okay, thank you. And Brian Wopat.
I think the Boys and Girls Club partnership that we're doing is an incredible idea. In addition, I want to give a shout out to all the staff members that worked hard last week to put on homecoming. My kids came home just raving the entire week with lots of energy. So kudos to all those who put in the extra time and effort throughout the week. And then the last thing that I want to say is I'm really impressed with the fact that within the district that you guys have really committed to the PLC promise, basically the concept of dedicating time every single month for the staff members to get together, knowing that it's that second Wednesday is carved out. And for parents, yeah, sure, there's that whole concept of finding daycare, but it's been established long enough that there's just this pattern already. And that's very, very important in the consistency of the district. So I'm very impressed.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Tom Cruise.
Yeah, welcome new teachers. I know at graduation is always a big turnout. Usually it's a good turnout with a number of teachers come to the graduation. That's speaks well of the district, more than anything we could say or any administrator could say. Someone's doing something right. And I want to thank whoever for these treats. I haven't looked at the cards yet, so I just thought I'd say I'll look at them when I get home, but thank you for the treats. So that was nice.
Well, thank you. I'm surprised, Tom, you didn't mention what happened in California. The governor signed a bill saying middle school could not start until 8 o'clock and high school until 8:30 or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that, no.
The governor in California.
Really? Well,
Just
I
passed-
love that idea.
Like, uh-oh.
They know I'm a big
I was sure
proponent
you
of-
were going to mention it,
Oh.
but yes, I would like to mention the last 2 weeks, the last couple weeks. So homecoming was one thing, to see the excitement on the kids and the enthusiasm. It just feels different. It just feels really positive and different in a good way. And then I have family from Sparta, and they came to the football game, and they were cold and all of that, but commented on how nice it was and the game, and it was a big game, and unfortunately, Holmen, we didn't come out on the right side of that, but my Sparta family was really impressed with the student behavior and the staff and the people, and then when they heard about the, just the band and how well they do and all of that, and they saw all that, it was just kind of a nice thing to hear that from your family members, that they reach out and say that. So, again, it was nice to see all of the staff members, the new staff members that could be here, and then we know that the others are in their offices or whatever, classrooms doing work, so I won't say anything more, but just, acknowledging that it takes a village to do all this good work, so we're very proud. It makes me proud, doesn't it, Brian? You said just being on the board new, it just kind of brings a different feel about being on the board, so. I would note that upcoming board meetings, of course, the WASB Fall Regional Meeting at Black River Falls is the 22nd. If you haven't let Stacy know, please let her know immediately, because I know I have to figure out if I'm going to be able to make it myself. The 28th, we have the budget hearing at 6, the annual meeting after that, and then after that is the regular board meeting. And would note that January 22nd to the 24th is the State Education Convention, and if you want to ask for a couple days off of work or whatever, get that on your calendar, because it's really a valuable experience. Now, 10.5, our school board policies and administrative rules for review. And these are there, you see them especially at the beginning of the year. These are policies that the committees have said they're going to be looking at. And for example, one is class size. I'll just mention that. Student Achievement and Learning Committee is going to be discussing class size, looking at our current practice, our current policy, evaluating whether or not there's any great change that needs to be made. I think because of situations and enrollment in a couple of the buildings, that's why it's coming to the board. But there are other ones. And so when you get your agenda, if you can look at these policies and then go out and take a look at them online and say, oh yeah, that seems good, or oh boy, I was surprised we do it this way, or that kind of thing, then this would be your opportunity to talk about it and to bring up any concerns that you may have as a board member. So if anyone wants to talk about any of those board policies that are out there, otherwise you also have that option to come to the committee meeting that's going to be discussing, and that is in parentheses after the policy. So anyone want to talk about any of these? Otherwise we can wait at the committee level. So, Brian.
I would like to comment on the class size policy. Full disclosure, having a wife that works at the elementary level, I do hear through her and her circle of influence that there seems to be a lot of extra stress that goes into when the decisions are made to eliminate positions. And that when class sizes get really, really large, that the amount of time that teachers are spending just going through the daily routines gets to be a lot. And I think through talking with some community members as well, that there's some frustration because really they don't know about it until they're actually in that situation. And so I think this is something that if it comes to preserving positions in addition to keeping those class sizes down across the district, just making sure that it's equitable between even the elementary buildings, that's an important factor to take into consideration.
And I know we've had discussions about class size before. It oftentimes happens when you have a bubble where you've got a large class that's moving through the ranks, and then when they leave, you may have 4 sections or 3 sections, and now you only have 2. But I know that we have looked at this. We have studied a variety of things, because there may be classes that only have 24 or 25, but to move someone, a student or whatever, to even those out, to have those all even, is very difficult to do that. It's busing and all of that. And so I would encourage you to come to the meeting that we have coming up, because I suspect we are. I think it's on our agenda. It's one of the items we're going to be discussing early, and they can share with you all that goes into that. But I know, we have wrangled with this, because if you look at things other than just teaching staff, we have EAs, and if you look at comparables to us and other districts, our numbers are much better than other districts. We have more EAs than other districts do per student, kind of thing. And so all of those things go into our formula. And then if there are higher needs, student needs, then we have special needs people in the classroom as well. So, but yeah, I know I am happy that you did that though, Brian, because I think that's what this is supposed to be, is an opportunity for you to talk about this. So, Tom, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's somewhat ignorant question. I'll take that straight out loud, but is there a lot of, I know I've seen before with teachers that there is a push, I'm all for about accountability and all that, but the amount of paperwork they got to deal with. Is that part of the burnout too, possibly? Or has that gotten better?
Well, the more students, the more paperwork, the more you have to do with that kind of thing.
I know,
So, yeah.
I know. I didn't know. There was.
I guess really kind of the real question is, so it gets difficult because a class size is one variable in a classroom, but there's so many things. A quality teacher is another big, there's so many parts that play into giving a student the education they deserve in that, and how you go about it. You want to do your best with the resources you have. So, I think it's going to be great. We can listen to what people are thinking and what they're saying in that. But, when you have a whole organization that you're running, having the guidelines that we have are helpful in helping us making our decisions. And, that's why we have our board committees, is to listen to that input and listen from those people to help in guiding that. But there's many things that go into our staffing. It's not only the capacity of our staff, it's the capability of them, it's the deployment of them. You know, there's so many parts that play into that, and something that we might just have to, you know, look into a little bit more carefully, so.
Any other policies that you'd like to have considered? I know one that has been brought to my attention, and Gary isn't here tonight, but it is regarding teacher compensation and whether that can be annual or school year. And is that, I think I heard that was going to be on the employee relations
Yeah, they'll.
committee?
Yes, we'll be bringing it to our employee relations team meeting, which will be here coming up at the end of October, because it's been something requested by some of our employees in that. And Gary did bring it up in our finance committee meeting, so we're aware of that, and we'll be reporting back on
And
where
so
we're
that
at
would,
and what things we're
and then
doing.
that would go
Yep.
to the Personnel and Governance Committee
Yep.
too
So,
before coming to the
yeah,
board.
that would be the process.
So
for
that is
something like
being
that.
worked on, I know. And then board self-evaluation, I know there is a handout in your packet, so if you take a look at that and go out and complete that, that would be wonderful. And unless there is any other business that needs to come before the board at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Anita, is there a second?
Second.
Rebecca, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries, we're adjourned. Go cheer them on.